head over to the NFC West. And what better place to start than beautiful Los Angeles? Now that the NFL season is officially over, we have officials. We've got the official MVP, official Super Bowl champion. How about official leader of the league in pressures? Rams rookie Jared Verse led the entire NFL in pressures with 89. That's one more than Kansas City Chief Chris Jones, who registered 88. Here's the kicker. Verse accomplished this despite having only the 12th most pass rush snaps played with 546. Now, to put that into perspective, Jalen Carter led the league with most pass rush snaps played at 711. He finished with 75 pressures. The Rams did it 2 years ago when they struck gold on the offensive side of the ball with Puka Nacua, and they did it again this last year with Jared Verse. There was one player that we know that Will Rock called for the Lions to trade up and get last year, Jared Verse. Perhaps Brad Holmes was about to make that move, but the Rams grabbed Verse at pick 19, and the rest is history. Now, a hiring out of New York is further fueling speculation that the New York Football Giants may be targeting Mathew Stafford as their next QB. Outside of some tweets sent out by Giants star receiver Malik Neighbors that showed Stafford's jersey number and some Ram emojis, the Giants just hired Chad Hall as an assistant quarterbacks coach. Chad Hall is, as we know, Matthew Stafford's brother-in-law, and they surely will be having the conversations. I would have personally found it more likely that Stafford would have hung him up as opposed to moving to a third team, but Peter Schrager, who we know is close with Sean McVay, recently told Pro Football Network, quote, "I don't think Stafford is retiring, but I think there's a chance he might wear another uniform in the near future," based on what the tea leaves are saying. So the question is, where will Stafford be playing next year, and who will be the quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams? One last bit of news out of LA. There's at least one report that Cooper Kupp's trade value may not be as high as perhaps some Rams fans might have hoped. Adam Schefter of ESPN said the interesting part here is that there's a lot of money involved, $20 million and a $7.5 million roster bonus due in the middle of March. Now, the Rams are willing to pay some of that money. I think when you speak to people around the league, they see Keenan Allen go last year for a 4th-round pick, and they believe that Cooper Kupp is in a similar situation. So, Will, what are your thoughts on being right about Jared Verse and Stafford and the news out of Los Angeles?
Well, I'll say this. When Adam Schefter reported on Monday that the Giants were, in fact, hiring Chad Hall, and then with all of this nonsense going on social media, I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, this may seem completely unrelated to Stafford, but then again, I mean, they're hiring his brother-in-law. I mean, that's Stafford's brother. And who wouldn't want to be in a New York market to end their career? I mean, it's a tough market, but that could also further Mathew Stafford's career after football as well. So it's interesting mix. I don't know if New York is really going to pull off, a massive trade like this. Who knows? I think that Stafford would probably retire before that. But then again, my speculation could be completely wrong here. On Cooper Kupp, he has a base salary of $12.5 million in 25. It's actually less than Allen's salary of 18.1. But Kupp is also 31 years old, which is the same age as Allen at the time of the trade to Chicago last year. So I'm envisioning that this trade value is going to be very similar to Allen. And as far as Jared Verse, look, the tape didn't lie. I can't tell anybody enough that the tape is so important to watch these guys, and it matches up, with combine work or whatever. I saw what Jared Verse could do on the field. Last year when I was on with various people, I had them switching and turning their minds from other edge, early in the first round to Jared Verse, and that's because of the report that I came with. It was factual. It was data driven. It was statistical driven, and Jared Verse did not disappoint. I mean, they got off to a slow start, him and Fisk. But they really turned it around about a third of the way through the season, and they really put up some big numbers. So congratulations to Verse. And to your point there, I have a feeling that Brad is probably going to pull the trigger on Verse had he slipped. And then making that last dash move to get Terry and Arnold, I think, is why he did that. That he was then thinking that, okay, everyone's going to fly off the board at this point. I've got to get up there and get my guy. And that's why he did that. So where are we headed to next? What's next on the destination?
Yeah, let's go to Arizona. So we'll make our way to the home of the Cardinals. Now, the Cardinals are eyeing a contract extension for tight end Trey McBride. McBride set the Arizona Cardinals franchise record for receptions by a tight end in 2023 with 81. Then last year, he blew that number out of the water, bringing in a whopping 111 receptions. So he tallied 1,146 receiving yards, scored 2 touchdowns, and earned his first Pro Bowl selection. McBride is still technically under contract for 2025, but according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler, the Cardinals, quote, hope to resign McBride and make him feel at home in Arizona for the long haul. Little mock draft news for the Cardinals. NBC Sports mocks Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan to Arizona in round 1. The Cardinals have invested in top 10 picks in back-to-back drafts. They were 10th in EPA per play on offense and 24th on defense in 2024. Per PFF, Pro Football Focus, Nolan finished top 5 among Power 4 interior defenders in sacks and pressures last year. They graded him as their number 3 defensive lineman in a major conference. And I'm going to pull up one other article here. Now, this is a post-Super Bowl look at a couple of Philadelphia, well, a handful of Philadelphia players that the Arizona Cardinals could target. Josh Sweat. Sweat has already been linked to the Cardinals because he was coached by Jonathan Gannon, fills the Cardinals' biggest need on the edge. Milton Williams on the defensive line. Williams had 5 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss in the regular season. In the Super Bowl, he had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, quarterback hit, and he forced and recovered a fumble. I know you like Zach Bond, Will, a lot, linebacker. He signed a 1-year deal last offseason and was moved to off-ball linebacker. Had a great season, 151 tackles, 3.5 sacks, and an interception, 4 pass breakups, and 5 forced fumbles, leading to an all-pro first-team nod. He could be somebody that the Cardinals target. And then lastly, offensive lineman Mekhi Becton. He moved from tackle to guard in 2024, was solid. The former number 11 overall pick will now be a free agent. He had to leave the Super Bowl briefly with an injury, but came back, finished the game. The Cardinals need guards. Would they target this monster of a man, Mekhi Becton? What are your thoughts, Will?
So I'll go in reverse order here. I think that the Cardinals need to shore up their offensive line first and foremost. If they're going to target a big name free agent, I think that, a player like Becton probably does make sense, or a player similar to Becton in his ability. I think that they have to protect the quarterback. I mean, the Lions were able to get after Kyler Murray, and I feel like it's imperative that you start in the trenches when you're trying to build a squad that can, now go up against some of the best defensive players in the league. A lot of teams fail. They fail by building the trenches, and that's why they're never going to be in the postseason. The trenches are the most important when you're starting, either to rebuild or retool a franchise. So it does make sense that they're going to go offensive line in free agency. I mean, who doesn't want Bond? Clearly I highlighted him a couple of weeks ago, and then he has a crazy good performance in the Super Bowl. That's no surprise. Milton Williams is a surprising one, but not really. I mean, this guy, I think he was a 3rd-round draft pick 4 years ago, and he's really shined, and he's really been coming on as of late. And that's exactly why when we talk about Brad Holmes and how he says, don't evaluate my draft for 3 seasons, this is why. Milton Williams has really turned it on. I hope that the Lions get their name in that drawing. As far as McBride goes, he'll be back. There's no reason why you don't bring back a tight end. I'm not 100% certain on the Cardinals' cap space or where they're drafting as far as how many picks that they have. Maybe they double up and add McBride, another tight end on the other side, someone that they can also grow with, keep the cap number low, especially if they're going to have to give him a considerable extension. So that's really it for me on the Cardinals. Where are we going to next?
Let's go down to Seattle. Seattle just hires Clint Kubiak to be their new offensive coordinator. Combining words here. Clint Kubiak feels Geno is, quote, tough as nails. Says that's a guy I want to coach. Mentioned this adversity that Geno has overcome, and mentioned specifically that Geno Smith plays well in the 4th quarter of games. So he's looking forward to coaching Geno Smith. And then also Mike McDonald, who's the head coach, said of the 14 candidates that they interviewed for the offensive coordinating position, Kubiak was the one who had the, quote, best idea as to how they were going to utilize DK Metcalf. Always go through those mentally thinking, like, how would I use him? How are you convincing these coaches? What's your pitch? Evidently, Kubiak had the strongest pitch, so we'll see what he does with Metcalf in Seattle. And then there is a rumor that the Seahawks and Steelers could be one of the games that are played in Ireland next year. Pittsburgh plays the NFL's first regular season game next year in Ireland, and the Seattle Seahawks could be the opponent. It's unlikely the league would ask the Pittsburgh Steelers to play a division game in Ireland, one of their home games. So that leaves Seattle as a likely opponent for Pittsburgh. So we could see Seattle with Clint Kubiak, some bombs from Geno to Metcalf, all in Ireland, according to these reports here. So from some news out of Seattle.
Yeah, so as far as Seattle goes, look, I think that Kubiak is he's dreaming about Geno Smith. Geno is a good quarterback. He definitely doesn't have the wheels that he used to have. He's a good passer of the football, but I think he's nearing the other side of his career. he's what I'm going to consider a bridge right now until the Seahawks can figure out exactly where they're going to go next. I'm not sure where they're picking, but if the Seahawks have an opportunity to grab a quarterback this year in a quarterback light draft, they might be looking to grab one probably in the second or third round. There's going to be some good options in the second or third round. Get one trained up. Metcalf is in my opinion a problem for the Seahawks. Quite simply, his contract this year, his cap hit is almost $32 million. And I can't imagine on any green earth where the Seahawks are either A, going to not try to negotiate a new deal, or B, trade him. So I think that I honestly feel that Metcalf is on the trade block right now. We just don't know about it, and or a new deal has to be put together. This is a team that needs to gain some draft capital as well as some overall cap space if they want to continue building this team and turn it into a contender. So I think Metcalf's on the block. I think they keep Tyler Lockett. And I think that Geno is on his way out to probably in the next 2 years. They'll find a new quarterback this year potentially. Last team of this division. Where are we going next?
San Francisco. Maybe that was Kubiak's pitch. It's like, hey, man, how are you going to use Metcalf? So we're going to get him the hell out of here. We're going to trade him. Jed York, the CEO of the 49ers, came out now that we don't have numerical figures to discuss, but he did make it clear. He spoke with the Associated Press in New Orleans, and he said, I know we want Brock Purdy to be here for a long time. We'll do everything we can to make that work. There's so much work before you get to that point. Obviously, it started at the end of the season to get this thing ready and get this thing right and get it back on track. There's no one that I respect more and trust more than John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan to get us back on track. So confident in getting a deal done with Brock Purdy, and from the CEO of the 49ers also seems to be confident that they will get the thing back on, get the train back on the rail, on the tracks. Yep. And then Deebo Samuel, he recently did an interview with Bleacher Report, and he was asked, if you aren't in San Francisco, can you see yourself playing? He said, I could see myself in Denver. Bo Nix is playing really, really good ball right now. Their defense is outrageous. You got Patrick Surtain out there, who's, I would say, the best at this position right now, probably been for the past 2 years. I just think you need a couple more pieces, and it'll be what it need to be, and just have to get past Pat Mahomes every year. So Deebo seems to see himself as a potential piece that he alludes to the Denver Broncos needing, and it'll be interesting to see if he does end up in Denver. And then lastly, there is a rumored report from, let's see, who was it here? Corey Woodruff of USA Today threw out the possibility. He said, the 49ers need more juice off the edge. They could look to Nick Bosa's elder brother as the solution. At this point in his career, Joey Bosa would be a much better complementary rusher opposite a superstar. So the idea is being floated out there that maybe the Bosa brothers are paired up together in San Francisco. What do you think that would look like, Will? And would you be happy to see that?
Well, I wouldn't be happy to see it, but I would say this. It's hilarious when I see these reports coming out or these speculations that they're going to try to pair him up with another heavy cap player in his brother. Look, Nick and Joey would be great to have on any defense. Maybe it'd be a little bit of brotherly love, and they'll say, hey, we'll give you the the brotherly discount, and it will come play together for a couple years to finish out our careers or whatever, or finish out one career. Doubtful is what I'm saying there. I don't think that any team is going to spend $50-60 million on two guys. It's just not going to happen. It totally kills your team. So I'm out on that theory. I don't think it's going to happen. As far as Deebo Samuel, yeah, he is definitely on the trade block. If the Broncos have the ability to bring him in, yeah, it could make sense. I mean, it fits within Sean Payton's scheme offensively. You can put Deebo just about anywhere, but is Deebo the diva? And is he going to infect that locker room or cause problems? I don't know. I don't really care what the Broncos do with him. If they do bring him in, that does make the Broncos a very scary offense. And then lastly, Brock Purdy. Yeah, I don't think that there's any way that Brock Purdy doesn't stay a 49er, and he will probably get about a $55 to $60 million contract before training camp hits. So good work on the first O'Reilly Road Report.